that black, rolling over brakes like skate. I'm down with ACP, too special K to cornflake. I DOG, any sucker tryna gas me. The KAZG, simply considered crafty. With more fat jokes than Red Fox wrote. You showboat, you couldn't warm it up with hot cocoa and a house coat. We get it swinging like the Red Sox with dreadlocks. I throw on my boots and kick you tighter than a headlock. Hard like a cock and drop a shit just like a buttocks. I got you constipated, so here's where the shit stop. You jock my dick like a chick and play the kink game. Can't be fly if you can't fly a plane. You can't be a captain if your name ain't Kurt. You can't swing a dribby if your mic don't work. You can't be rapping hip hop if the shit you're rapping's who?
Can't touch this!
Yeah, whoever said that, fuck you.
What's cracking, you Tubanites? Welcome to Lords of the Long Box. Mikey Sutton Geekosity presents a long-term spec list. I got my man, Milton's the Manimal. Say what's up, Manimal.
What's going on, everyone? Got a fun list to talk about here today. Some quirky and cool characters and just something a little bit new.
Yeah, we haven't done a long-term
We haven't done one of these in a while.
We just did the Secret Wars one, but it was only like 3 weeks ago, but it seems so long ago when we did the Secret Wars. Shout out to everybody in the live chat, rocking my Loki crazy looking Versace shirt. Actually, I had to wear long sleeves, man. For some reason this time of the year in California, it's colder in the inside of our house than it is on the outside. Like, it's weird. Like, it gets really cold at nighttime, and then the daytime it gets like 70 degrees, but at nighttime it could drop into like the 40s, and maybe, I know people are like 40s and 30s, that ain't shit. But hey, shout out to everybody in the live chat. My man Mikey Sutton hanging out with us in the live chat as well. Shout out to Roger Levesque and all the men and 3 men in the basement. Beyond the Blast Door, shout out to them as well. Shout out to my man from Spine Tech, Sith Lord, and holding it down with the wrench. Emerald Knight, Rudy, my band Joshua, what's up, Jay Ramirez. The list goes on and on. So this is dropping in conjunction with a scoop that Mikey just dropped on Geekosity. We have the long-term spec list here, but over on the Geekosity webpage, and I will drop the link in there, and I will also read it for you. But if you guys haven't, make sure you check out the Geekosity Mag website. Tons of great articles every day. Sometimes you see your boy on there. So this is in conjunction. This is Darkhawk, if you haven't guessed it. It's in the goddamn graphic, but there's a Darkhawk series planned for Disney Plus. We've been talking about Darkhawk for I don't know how long now. We've had him on long-term spec lists So that's what we always tell you. You want to know that the characters are being developed, regardless of where they show up in. Just know that Marvel's coming. So when you bought Darkhawk #1, you didn't care about where he was going to be on the New Warriors team or going to be in the Secret Invasion. That's called foreshadowing, by the way. But know that he's coming. So let me pull up the Geekosity thing here and give you guys something pretty to look at. And I don't mean Manimal's face while I'm reading this. All right. Excuse me. So this is from geekositymag.com. It was just posted about 15 minutes ago. Is this how we work, man? This is a symbiotic relationship, not symbiote, by the way. Scoop. Darkhawk to soar on Disney Plus. Written by Mikey Sutton, editor-in-chief and owner of geekositymag.com. I'm going to read this verbatim from first person, Mikey's account. So Darkhawk is almost becoming like the Great Pumpkin. Speculated and rumored for possibly half a decade now to appear in the MCU, Darkhawk has so far been a no-show. Yet every year, fans continue to wait for his arrival. Apparently, they've been getting their wish soon. A few months ago, I scooped that Darkhawk was being discussed to be Nova's best friend in the cinematic franchise. We talked about it on this channel as well. His Falcon, so to speak, to Nova's Captain America. I've since been told by inside sources that Darkhawk is in early development for his own series on Disney+. A quick glance at Marvel Studios' upcoming Disney Plus live-action series unveil a common theme, if you will. Superheroes on Earth. As the MCU continues to venture into the cosmos, the same can't be said for WandaVision, Hawkeye, or She-Hulk. Loki comes close into embracing the hardcore sci-fi vibe that's mainly time travel. Space, the Final Frontier, has been exclusive to the theatrical releases and now canceled Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Of course, there is Sword, but that will be equal parts mutants from what I know thus far. So there's a space fantasy void. Enter Darkhawk. For years, Marvel Studios has been conflicted about what to do with Darkhawk. Here's a character that can fit snugly into the dark and gritty. Grunge him up and he can hang out with Ghost Rider and the Midnight Suns, but Darkhawk has a real science fiction roots. After teenager Christopher Pyle finds a peculiar amulet, he gains the ability to mind control and trade places with a futuristic android, becoming Darkhawk. With 90s nostalgia roaring like a runaway train, Darkhawk will feel that need indeed. But Disney Plus is pushing forward the MCU cosmic narratives that's really at play here. Because of the ongoing pandemic, it'll take a few years for Darkhawk to take flight. However, unlike the Great Pumpkin, he is awaiting in the wings to show up. So there you go. This now puts this long-term spec list into perspective, if you will. We've always said that Darkhawk has, I saw some comments in the live chat as we were tailgating, and some people thought Darkhawk was kind of whack, but as Manimal and I did on an Annihilation, we did our Annihilation review video, there is a whole, they rebooted him in, what was it, the early 2000s, where there was a whole new backstory. They retconned a lot of old stuff. He's basically, the amulet ends up being part of the Fraternal Order of Raptors, and a very cosmic character, as opposed to just, kind of bouncing around with the New Warriors in the 90s. So he has changed. If you just go off the original Darkhawk comics in the 90s, you may think he's kind of whack. But,
even, so he had that, I think it was a 1 through 50 run, the early 90s Darkhawk stuff. And then it was cool. It was classic 90s stuff. But then what kind of made him lame was then he only really showed up in issues called, I don't know if anyone remembers this mini series called The Loners. And it was basically like old superheroes that were in like an AA meeting talking about how they were basically losers now. And
that's so sad.
And that's really what he came down to. And he kind of became a joke of the Marvel Universe. But like Tim said, it was in War of Kings that he kind of came back and they resurrected him and kind of resurrected his character, brought it back and made him cool. And he's had a lot of little tie-ins. You've seen him in some of like the Infinity storylines coming forward lately, but he's a cool character, man. And honestly, with the Raptors, like kind of added in the whole Assassin's Guild type thing.
Yeah, the War of the Kings.
It really made him cool.
Yeah, the War of the Kings, really good read, man. When Abnett and Lanning started, I would say Abnett and Lanning restarted the cosmic side of the Marvel 616 comic books. You know what I mean?
Annihilation was breathed new air into the dead cosmic universe of Marvel, for sure.
Yeah. And as you see, as we start going through this, you can start making ties to some of the storylines, and we'll try to kind of elaborate on them more as we can. But man, I'll let you kick off with the first one, man, because then I end up with the ones that I want.
Okay.
First up on the list is Dargan Bach.
Yeah,
we got to tell us about Dargan Bach.
Dargan Bach.
That sounds like a Star Wars name if you've ever heard one.
Right. So anyway, I mean, well, real quick on this list, you're going to hear a lot of familiar names that are more good guys, and you're going to hear a lot of no-name bad guys. So it does make it kind of interesting to see who might be his big baddie or what's going on here. But anyway, first one we got is Dargan Bach, however the hell you say this whack-ass name, alias Evil Hawk, so not very original either. But basically, he was a guy who also got a hold of some Darkhawk armor and fought against Chris Powell and kind of just back and forth with him. But some of the problems, like Tim and I were talking off scene, is with the 90s stuff, you're getting a lot of retcon. So the Raptors and the War of Kings stuff retconned a lot of these origins and these characters like storylines to maybe even make some of them not even real or valid anymore. So we're not going to talk too much in the weeds about these characters' backgrounds because it may be completely different if they show up in the show. But
yeah,
anyways, his first appearance is Darkhawk number 20.
Yeah, easily a $1 bin book, man. Easily a $1 bin book. So first character on the list is Dargan Bach. Soon to appear in The Mandalorian as well, because that's got a Star Wars name written all over it. So, all right. Next up on the list is a very interesting character. The next one they're researching for the series is Portal. First appearance, Darkhawk number 5. First appearance is Charles Little Sky, Avengers 304. Yes, he's one of those characters who showed up in the Avengers, didn't have powers, he had powers, but didn't really have a full-on name yet. And he ties into the MCU in various different ways. First of all, he's Native American, growing up with special abilities identified from a shaman, and then he was attacked by Puma, which is another MCU character. That's when the Avengers Thor, Captain America, and Gilgamesh. If you remember that early Avengers team that had Gilgamesh in it in the early 300s.
Yeah, that was like the garbage Avengers run.
Yeah. So basically, Portal is one of those characters who has changed and evolved. Started as a bad guy, but then became an ally of Darkhawk. And the armor looks pretty cool, to be honest with you. I mean, I dig it, man. I mean, he's still bouncing around. Let me see. For the armor, he was a director of armor, ARMOR, which is a organization tasked with keeping an eye on all extra-dimensional activities. I do believe we had armor on our long-time spec before, too. So now you're hearing about armor twice. He was once a director of armor. He was involved with She-Hulk. And when he was a director of armor, that was part of the whole Marvel Zombie storyline. He was part of Wolverines. He was part of She-Hulk. So the character's been around for a bit. You know, Feige likes taking these little characters and making something of them. You know what I mean? If you want the best example of that, Guardians of the Galaxy. Nobody gave a shit about Star-Lord until Kevin Feige took over it. So there you go. Portal. First appearance, Darkhawk number 5. If you really want to go dig deep, first appearance as the character, Charles Little Sky, Avengers number 304. What do we got up next? Next up,
we get a big one. Yeah,
there you go.
So when you talk about characters like Richard Rider Nova, and you talk about Darkhawk, these 90s characters, New Warriors, this next guy is a no-brainer. We got Speedball. Okay, so Speedball, obviously kind of a goofy character. He was the comic relief in New Warriors, on the team. He was the youngest character. You know, he bounced around, no pun intended. And he's been around throughout it all. He really turned a little dark, if anyone remembers, right before Civil War with the Stanford incident and everyone dying. And
he caused the explosion, right?
No, well, he was doing so at the time, New Warriors were a reality TV show. And
that's right, yeah.
And Nitro came after them and blew them all up. Well, then he became really cool when they put him in that penance suit, and he was living in that armor that constantly spiked him.
Yeah.
It made his power. So he's been around. He's back and forth. He's been around lately, but not as a big character, but definitely a good supporting character, a comic relief type character. And interesting enough, his first appearance is actually going to be in Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 20. So that's kind of a cool book, man.
Yeah,
it's also part of the Evolutionary War tie-in.
Yeah. So this is everybody should have. This is one of those $10 wall books that everybody should have. You know, part of the New Warriors, you know, when people were specking that a New Warriors show was going to happen. And as we get through this list, what I've come to the realization is Feige is taking the New Warriors and doing something different with them. They're not just making a 30-minute comedy show, because there's a lot of interesting things that they want to go serious on this, and it doesn't really matter. The thing about Marvel, they don't need to make a comedy show because a lot of their stuff is already kind of have humor built into it. Even the most serious films like Avengers Endgame, you know, it has kind of humor built into it. There's no reason to do a comedy per se, right?
Yeah.
I might just close down my YouTube. Let me make sure I can get back to it. Next up, I was like, got so excited here.
Well,
all right.
And kind of while you're getting your stuff fixed up too, like another thing here is all these characters, as people in the chat are seeing, they're asking, is there a crossover with Nova? That's what they're doing. That's what Marvel wants to do. They want characters that can easily bleed back and forth between shows. I mean, it just makes the whole cinematic universe so much easier rather than having to pull in a character that has no comic book history with another character.
It's just Disney Plus is basically a mirror of the comics where you see characters pop in and out of everyone.
Right.
And thank you for the segue, Manimal, because the next one on the list,
Boom.
Richard Rider, everybody's favorite Dick Rider. Right? This doesn't mean this is going to make his debut, but it just means he's going to appear in here. We've had Richard Rider, Nova on so many long-term spec lists that Marvel is big on bringing him back.
This is a no-brainer.
And speaking of the first time that Darkhawk and Richard Rider appeared together, New Warriors number 22. That is when Darkhawk joined the New Warriors with the same team that had Nova on it. So if you want to really go, it's I do believe from my research that is the first time, because that's when Darkhawk joined the New Warriors. And if you look on that cover, who else is on there?
Speedball. Rage.
Yep, and Speedball. So that's why
lame. Rage was so lame, man. I hated Rage so much.
And that's Namorita, right? Wow, Namorita had a small little bikini on back there. Yeah,
and silhouette right there.
So therefore, we just named Darkhawk, Speedball, and Nova. And if you don't think a New Warriors show will spin off this eventually, it's a safe bet to make sure you have the first appearance. I mean, the New Warriors thing had been spec'd on and then spec'd off of, because remember, it was supposed to be a show, a comedy show with Squirrel Girl. Remember, she was supposed to be the lead, the AT&T chick. So hot, by the way. Love it. She's like she's the ultimate girl next door. But this tells me they're going to be doing some type of New Warriors thing, and it's not the comedy version. Once Feige gets a hold of it, maybe Mikey can line this in the live chat if he's heard anything about a New Warriors show being retooled and maybe not as much as a funny show as they originally thought. But they've been sitting on it. The pilot never saw the light of day. It's amazing to me how it hasn't been leaked yet, even though they already filmed it. And remember, I think it was supposed to be on Hulu, right?
Yeah. You know what, Till? Also, Disney Plus could be doing a little like introducing characters, and you might get your own little like Disney Plus Avengers-esque team in the New Warriors, where you have first appearances in all these different shows, and then they come together, kind of like Netflix did with Defenders, and they end up doing a New Warrior show. Because now, like you said, you're talking 3 characters now.
Yeah, just like Mikey said, a lot of these major superheroes are going to be off Earth. So somebody needs to protect the Earth. Why not have the kind of minor league teams like the New Warriors, the Defenders, and whatnot take care of it there on Earth, right? So there you go. It's right there in Mikey's scoop. Go check out Geekosity Mag. All right, so next on the list is everybody's favorite Dick Rider, Richard Nova, first appearance of Nova number 1. If you want to know when Nova first met Darkhawk, New Warriors number 22, which is, damn, I don't think I've ever seen that book in person, to be honest with you. All right, what do we got next up, Manimal?
Next one we've got a villain that kind of comes from a different character who you think of. So we got Tombstone, who everyone really relates more to Spider-Man and even a little bit more to Daredevil. But the interesting thing we see with Tombstone is he's very much is a street level kind of character. So he brings in that grounded, no nonsense street level gangster vibe that, could be an easy bad guy for Darkhawk to cut his teeth on. And he's a cool character. I mean, he's not fancy by any means. His head's really strong, and he likes to...
He was in the
I'm thinking
PS4 game, wasn't he? Wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he was in the... remember Into the Spider-Verse, where all the spider allies fought against Kingpin's henchmen?
Right.
He was one of them. He was one of the henchmen in Into the Spider-Verse, the animated movie.
And he's a character, too. Like, let's be honest. If you're going to put him on TV... it's not going to take much special effects. He's a guy with superhuman strength, stamina, and durability. I mean, there's not a lot of like special effects that go into a character like that.
Yeah. So what's interesting, he's an albino.
Yeah.
So here's his backstory why it's Web of Spider-Man. He went to the same school as Robbie Robertson. Is that his name?
Joe
Robertson, the guy who works for the Daily Bugle, right? Who's kind of like the only guy who defends Spider-Man when Jonah Jameson's going off. He went to high school with them, and as an albino, he was picked on, except for Robertson, who was his friend. And stay tuned, because after this long-term spec list, I got a scoop that Mikey just laced me in my Facebook Messenger page. So you'll get that cannonball. We forgot to give you the cannonball earlier, but next up, Tombstone, first appearance, Web of Spider-Man, number 36. This is great. I love lists where these are books you can easily find.
Dude, that's a dollar bin book, bro.
Easily. I would eat all these Darkhawk books are dollar bin books. Well, everything except for Nova so far and Speedball. Speedball's still relatively cheap, I would think. You know what I mean?
I actually got a pretty cheap copy myself just recently.
All right. So the next character on the list shows what Mikey was talking about, how they want to go cosmic with Darkhawk eventually. You know, the origin stories, he has to start on Earth. He makes his friends with Nova, who was started as an Earthbound character, Cannonball, New Warriors, etc. But then we get this character, Catastrophus. That's right. Catastrophus is on the research list. First appearance of War of the Kings Ascension. Number 1. Manimal and I were just talking about it. It's a great freaking read. It goes deeper into the Darkhawk mythos, the Fraternal Order of the Raptors, and Catastrophus. God, is just like a name like a nihilist, right? It has to be a bad guy.
Right.
There's no way you can name Catastrophus and not be a bad guy. Catastrophus actually was the leader of the Annihilation Wave, right?
After all of them got destroyed.
That's right. And that I don't want to give out spoilers, but the story is like 10 years old.
Right.
Eventually he would meet up with Talon and what's the other guy's name? There's
Razor.
two of them. Yeah, he would eventually meet up with Talon and Razor, and something happens, but I'll let you read the comic books to find out. But it just goes to show you how Talon and Razor are part of the Fraternal Order of Raptors. Darkhawk eventually realized that amulet gives him the ability to be a part of the Raptors, and the Raptors are part of the Annihilation Wave. The Annihilation Wave is part of Catastrophus, and the first appearance of Catastrophus is War of the Kings Ascension number 1. I just did 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon for you right there live on YouTube. So that's how it all works, boys and girls. All right, so Catastrophus, first appearance, War of the Kings number 1, Ascension number 1. I think you're going to dig this one. That's why I gave it to you, Animal.
This one came up. We've actually had this one before. This guy was on our Nova long-term spec list as well. And obviously, because his first appearance is actually going to be in Nova number 6. This is Anath Namut, or Sphinx, as his name goes. So he was a Egyptian pharaoh who had magical abilities and battled Nova and Richard Rider quite a bit throughout his series. But like you said, he ties in and he has some interactions with Speedball. It wouldn't be too far to say he wouldn't end up interacting with Darkhawk. He definitely went up against the New Warriors at different times.
Very powerful character. Very
powerful
immortal,
character.
yeah.
Been gone for a long time. Not a character that many people know about. And this is 100% a dollar bin book. You can find that Nova number 6, that early Nova 1, or maybe not 1, but 2 through 10. Those are cheap books that you can find pretty easily.
I'm glad I completed my Nova run like years ago. Is Sphinx a mutant, or is that somebody? I'm trying to think.
Yes, he is a mutant.
Yeah.
He is one of the mutants. But I think it was kind of retconned that way. He's not like associated necessarily with like the X-Men and whatnot. But yeah, he is a mutant.
Yeah, and he's been around forever. He's an immortal, so I mean, very powerful. I think he was also in some early some FF storylines from like the late 190s to the early 200s. I mean, the Sphinx has been around for a while. Who knows? Egyptian ties, Moon Knight. I'm just saying, man, they can cross-pollinate these characters. What's what Disney Plus and Marvel movies are. And, just to kind of go off topic, kind of on topic, but with the shutdown, seemingly going through happen, it's inevitable, guys. It's going to happen for December. Cases are rising. Hollywood needs to find different ways of doing things. We didn't talk about it, but they already talked. I don't even know how this happened, but WandaVision jumped the shark and ended up debuting before Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I don't know.
Now they got a release date finally.
Yeah, in January. So, I expect them to do more stuff on the Disney Plus since they, you know, the movies right now, they don't know when they can release things. I think Mikey dropped an article, something about saying that HBO Max is now considering dropping Wonder Woman on HBO Max. I don't know, Mikey can expand on that in the live chat, but maybe they could do something they did with Mulan where you're an HBO Max subscriber and you pay an extra, you know, you pay like a pay-per-view fee of 10 or 20. I would pay $20 to see Wonder Woman. You know what I mean?
Man, that's crazy though too, because they have been so adamant about how that was not going to happen, and now it's like they're like, well, I guess maybe we will do it.
Yeah, and apparently Mulan did it pretty well. I mean, not in China, but it did pretty well, good numbers here in the U.S. And if you're stuck at home, you know, and people complaining about $20, dude, these people spend more money on Big Macs in a week. That's more than $20. You know what I'm saying? Then shout out to my man Kevin Feige, who is in the live chat. Appreciate you hanging out with us, Kevin Feige. All right, so next on the list is Sphinx. First appearance is Nova number 6 from 1977. All right, next one is a character I've never heard of. That's right, your boy Savage Steel. First appearance is Darkhawk number 3. That's why I told you there's some really interesting Darkhawk issues in here that are up to 1. There's, you know, we haven't even talked about. We were talking about it off air, and I think Chad Crow brought up in the live chat that we didn't bring up Overhawk, although the characters sprinkled in here have interacted with Overhawk. So just saying, it's early in the process. Overhawk could happen, but this next character is an interesting one. His name is Savage Steel, and really Savage Steel is the name of the armor. Jimmy Zafar was actually the character who ends up holding on to the Silver Savage Steel. First appearance, Darkhawk number 3. And what it is Jimmy Zafar was an NYPD officer who was friends with Mike Powell. Mike Powell being, of course, the father of Chris Powell, of Darkhawk. So there's your connection. So basically Jimmy Zafar was like a part of a secret cop group that, you know, went out and they were tired of criminals just ending up in prison. So they were going out trying to assassinate criminals. So they were called the Cabal. They tried to kill the Punisher, and then they tried to kill Darkhawk. So they saw Punisher and Darkhawk more as, you know, vigilantes as opposed to following within the confines of the law. After Civil War, he was listed as a potential recruit for the Initiative. So there you go. So this is one of those characters that is kind of, I guess, ambiguous, right? They want to be on the side of the law, but for the wrong reasons, right? So they want to punish criminals, but to like the draconian, most severe degree. They don't want people to go to jail. They want to kill the criminals. So a very interesting character. And Darkhawk. So Darkhawk was, you know, that's why the Civil War Initiative was such an important thing in the comic books, because you can't just put on a costume and just say, hey, I'm on the side of the heroes. Eventually, you know, there's repercussions, right? And as Manimal was saying earlier with the whole, what was it, Stanford, right?
Stanford, yeah.
Yeah, the whole Stanford incident, you know, that's the catalyst that caused, similar to those, okay, for those who don't read comic books and only watch the films, it's similar to what happened in the Captain America film, where Scarlet Witch actually blows up a building and there's a lot of collateral damage. But to be honest with you, it kind of built up to that, like, you know, what happened in New York City. And then they finally said what led to the movie Civil War. The Stanford incident is what led to the Hero Registration Act in the comic books, right? You know, because how many people died in that? It was like some ridiculous amount.
It was like 900, I think.
Yeah, like huge explosion, took out a city, and a whole bunch of people died. And that's when this was the New Warriors were in the center of it. And, you know, I don't want to give away anything, but the Civil War storyline's already been done, but who knows, they could do a different version of it again. Because I have a feeling the whole thing about, you know, superheroes being registered or being part of the government in the Marvel universe isn't done yet. I still have a feeling there's still stories to be told, like just like Civil War. There was Civil War 1 and there was Civil War 2. Man, a lot of people didn't like Civil War 2, but there you go. So next up on the list is Savage Steel, aka James Zafar. But here's why this list is so interesting is I was given this list with no context. So Mikey got this list early and he gave it to me and he said, run with it. And then he got the scoop and he posted his scoop today. So a lot of these characters, I would say the people who are getting to them are saying, hey, we got these characters to research, right? So they could say like Richard Rider, but they didn't say Nova, which is really interesting, right? Because everybody knows Richard Rider is Nova. They said Portal, but they didn't say Charles Little Sky, right? They say Savage Steel, but it didn't say Jimmy Zafar. So just goes
it could be anyone. Yeah, that Savage Steel character could be anyone. It doesn't have to be Jimmy Zafar, you know? It could be anyone, really. It's just a damn armor, pretty much.
But that's and that's what's different about how the Kevin Feige works within the MCU, right? Where he goes, hey, research these characters, but I'm not married to their origins or their storylines.
Right. He probably tells them like, hey, here's some characters I'm interested in. shoot me some good stories with these guys. See what you can come up with. Can you make any good stories with them? Can you kind of develop a good relationship? And we'll see what we can do.
And to be honest with you, the only times the origins have really changed in the MCU was when Kevin Feige was hindered by legal, or when Sony or Fox owned the properties, right?
Right.
I mean, like Scarlet Witch, most obvious is Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. He couldn't say who they were. Even in the comics, it changed that it was who they were.
Yeah, did the comics change to mirror the TV show or the movies?
Yeah. That's why it always goes back. It's important to know Kevin Feige now heads up all the entertainment divisions, meaning comic books. Not saying he's the editor-in-chief of the everyday details, but I'm pretty sure he said in a mandate, like, look, guys, we need to stop retconning these characters so much. You know what I mean? We need some coherency, as things go on. And, I don't want to, talk bad about DC, but there's been more bad DC news, and we'll see how it plays out. But there was a second round of layoffs that happened a couple days ago. Some more people at DC, and then there was more news that quite possibly DC may be leaving the publishing business altogether and deal just in trades and specialties. So really hope that doesn't happen, because that
would be bad for the whole business.
That'd be bad. They finally hired a new Dan DiDio's replacement, by the way. And the reason people are saying this is she heads up the digital comics division. So I think that's why people are leaning that they may get rid of, I hate to call them floppy comics. That sounds stupid. Let's just say single issues, right? I don't know where that term came from, but I noticed that lingo used a lot by sites like Bleeding Cool or comicbookresources.com. They call them floppies, meaning single
never
issue.
called them that shit.
That sounds stupid, because I'm old enough to remember floppy disks, so I'm not going to call a comic a floppy, goddamn.
Yeah, I got a floppy in my shorts if you want to see.
Hey, now, watch it now. All right, that deserves a cannonball, by the way. But anyway.
We got one more character. He's a biggie, too.
So, by the way, Manimal's name for his package is called Savage Steel, just in case you didn't know that. Steel. See that? That's a double spec right there. All right, give us the last one, man.
So this last one has showed up also before if you watch the Nova long-term spec list. And once again, if you're looking at these cosmic characters, this guy's showing up. We got Wendell Vaughn, a.k.a. Quasar. So he's been around
AKA
forever,
Marvel
man.
Boy.
Marvel Boy, a.k.a. almost like a million different names.
And the female versions we didn't bring up anyway. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we got Quasar, super powerful cosmic character, really cool character as well. Now, in terms of first appearances, you got two options here. You get his first appearance as Marvel Boy. You got Captain America 217. But what Tim's got up right here is the first appearance as Quasar, and that's actually going to be Incredible Hulk number 234. So Quasar actually has a really good, strong connection with both characters of Nova and Darkhawk. After the retcon, not the retcon, but the revival of the cosmic universe, you saw Quasar interact with Nova, became a really good friend. He also helped out Darkhawk a lot as well. And I think, if I remember correctly, Darkhawk was working at the labs that he was working at for a while.
Yeah. So actually, something else that's been talked about is Secret Invasion. And Nova number 18 has a Darkhawk and Quasar appearance where they all help Nova. Also, that's why all these characters kind of combine together. If you think about it, Quasar and Darkhawk are also joined the Guardians of the Galaxy at one point. And this was from 2019. So that's why I'm saying this list is not just for a Darkhawk series, though it is. These characters will appear. They're being researched, but it could also be New Warriors, Secret Invasion, War of the Kings. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to go. There's a
ton of stuff you can do.
Just don't think of Darkhawk as the 90s version of when you bought Darkhawk number 1, because we've been talking about through the 2000s, he's really made the character just same as Nova. If you think about it, it was Nova the Human Rocket, then became Nova,
super
Nova
powerful,
Prime,
like
super
the most
badass.
Powerful hero.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I'm telling you, one of my favorite reads of the 2000s is Nova Annihilation, where he gets a power of all the Nova Corps, and he has the helmet that talks to him, kind of like Kit from Knight Rider. One of the best, man. And then he sacrificed himself. I think it was him and Quasar, or Star-Lord that sacrificed themselves to kill Thanos. Yeah. Pretty awesome reads, man. But there you go, man. So Quasar.
It's a good list, man. It's a fun list.
We talked about it ad nauseum before, but you can do Marvel Boy, but they try to stay away from. I'm calling him Marvel Boy since you're going to have Miss Marvel and then Captain Marvel. You don't want to. They're not going to call him Marvel Boy, but Quasar sounds pretty damn cool to me. But just in case, keep your bases covered and get all the different versions of Quasar, because there's also a female Quasar that came in the 2000s, I do believe. And I want to think it was Abnett and Lanning that did the female Quasar.
Yeah,
anyway.
It was Moondragon became Quasar.
Yeah,
so Lavelle, I think.
Yeah. So that's the list, boys and girls. Thank all 120 of you watching. And as promised, I do have a little scoop here at the very end. I don't have a graphic for it, though, but I do got this.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Cannonball!
All right. So, as Mikey Sutton was, our man Mikey was in the live chat, he messaged me and just got some more information on what's going to happen. Didn't make our long-term spec list, but he just got this last moment. They plan on having Firestar added to the show, and it was true. So Mikey reached out and confirmed, yes, they are developing a newer New Warriors show that will feature Firestar as well. So add Firestar onto this list. We've talked about Firestar ad nauseum. So obviously, Spider-Man is Amazing Friends, and then what's the X-Men issue? What's the first issue? First appearance in continuity for Firestar. I can't think of it. I'm pretty sure people in the live chat.
It's like 201 or 202 or something like that.
Yeah, that book got hot last year, I think, when we first started talking about Firestar. But Firestar has been on the lips of a lot of people. That's what she said. But there you go. So I just got this from Mikey.
193. Sorry, 193.
So they're planning on having Firestar show up somewhere along these lines. And if you know, all these characters, what they have in common is when they first came up, they were all young, right? We're talking like high school, early college years. The next kind of level up of superheroes, as the other superheroes were kind of from the 60s and 70s. These characters kind of all, if you think about Richard Rider, I mean, he started as a character in high school. Same with Darkhawk. All these characters, Cannonball, you know, if you think about the New Mutants, all these young characters, right, to kind of build into the next level of things. So trying to find out from Mikey if he's saying Firestar is going to be added as well. So just go make sure you got Firestar. I'm pretty sure everybody does, but I think the New Warriors book is something to look out for, because it looks like now my feeling is Kevin Feige sat on the New Warriors show as we know it and didn't want to go forward with it. You know, basically it was mocking characters he wants to put on the big screen, right? Maybe not Squirrel Girl, but you know, characters like, you know, if you mock a character like Night Thrasher, nobody's ever going to take him seriously, right? Although Night Thrasher does, you know, one of my favorite kookiest heroes from the 80s ever, Night Thrasher, jumping through the screen, hitting people with a skateboard on the side of the head. So that's,
you know, one of the things we always talk about too is you see when either in the current issues or stuff, Marvel starts bringing back characters and that they haven't been around for a while. You know, just another little tidbit. They've got finally got a New Warriors omnibus coming out next year at the beginning of the year. So,
and we've always said on the show, there's reasons why they re-release some of this material, especially omnibuses, get them kind of, you know, people
right. Once you get excited,
you know, you may laugh at Darkhawk, you may laugh at Cannonball, but nobody took the Guardians of the Galaxy serious at all whatsoever. And now Chris Pratt by the way, if you didn't know, Star-Lord's going to be in Thor: Love and Thunder. So there you go.
Nice.
So buy New Warriors, and guess what else you should buy? Guardians of the Galaxy, because remember they teased that at the end of Thor, just kind of a throwaway line, but there's an Guardians of the Galaxy comic book, so you never know. And watch out for Angela. She's been on the list, so that's going to be great. Yeah, I'm just talking to Mikey right now, and he said, yes, the New Warriors is being revamped, and it's going to be more serious as a Marvel show can get. It's still going to have comedy elements, whereas the New Warriors show was going to be akin to MODOK. You know how MODOK is straight up comedy, right, on Hulu? Yeah. They were going to do that with New Warriors. I mean, it's Squirrel Girl, obviously, so they weren't going to take themselves too seriously, but Feige has decided he wants to rebrand it and make it more like the New Warriors comic book, where it's got comedy elements, but it's more action and adventure driven than it is a pure 30-minute sitcom is what it's saying. So there you go, man. I can't wait for this to happen. My feeling is we're probably going to get more Disney Plus projects than we are going to get MCU films in the next 6 months. That's just my guess. And
yeah, especially with everything going on.
And I'm fine with that. So shout out to all 125 of you joining us. I really appreciate it on a Saturday afternoon at 3:40 p.m. Pacific. I know you got a lot of cool stuff to do. Speaking of which, check out my man Spine Ticks tonight. I may jump on there as I normally do, drunk as hell, but we shall see, man. Hanging out with the lady today, so I got to go down and spend some time with her since I've been on here on YouTube. But make sure you peep out our friend Spine Ticks on tonight. I think Sith Lord, you dropped the live link in there. I think they start at 8 p.m. Pacific or 9 p.m. Pacific, but make sure you check out our friends at the Spine Ticks. Any last words, Manimal?
No, great characters. Get out there looking in those long boxes, trying to find some of these issues, and we'll see you a little bit later when we got next. What we got up next? Probably another CovrPrice is the next video.
Yeah, so we'll see you Tuesday for the CovrPrice Top 10, and then Thursday for the CovrPrice Shakers, man. We're shaking and moving and doing things. So until next time, boys and girls, keep digging in them long boxes. Peace out.
Now let's do this. Rewind, select and come again. Pull up that from the top to the very last. Jump.
Who are you to make their lives bitter in hard bondage? In this you shall know that the Lord is faithful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, do it! We're here! We're back! Word up! Get super job! You can't get fresher than this!
In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's 5 greatest heroes. Their mission, to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
When it comes, I won't even notice.
Oh, how so?
I'll be too busy looking